Hello, everybody. Welcome to another fun episode of AWS Show and Tell, a full show about generative AI. My name's Pete Ildefonso. I'm going to be your host this evening. I'm a solutions architect based out of our HQ2 office, and I focus on our federal financial customers. And I'm lucky enough today to be joined by Sindhu. Sindhu, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Hi, Pete. Hi, I'm Sindhu Achudan. I'm a senior solutions architect, and I've been with AWS for about 6 years now, and I support federal financial customers just like Pete.
Excellent. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining today. Don't forget, you can put your questions right there in the chat, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch or watching from LinkedIn. We're happy to answer your questions here. Go ahead and ask if you have any questions today about intelligent document processing. So today we're going to do a walkthrough. We're going to talk about how to use unstructured data, how to use it for intelligent document processing, and most importantly, a tool that AWS now provides called the Intelligent Document Processing Accelerator solution that can help you get started. Before we kick off, Sindhu, I know we've got the AWS Summit coming up in DC. It's going to be
Oh,
June
yeah.
and July 1st. Are you planning on going this year?
Oh, yes. I love DC Summit, and the Washington Convention Center is huge. Yeah, it's quite interesting. I'm planning to show up this year. How about you?
Yeah, I should be there. I got a lot of customers going. It's going to be an exciting week in DC in general. We've got the quintessential, the 250th anniversary of
Oh,
DC.
right. Yeah.
So with the 4th of July being so close, I'm sure a lot of people will already be coming into town for it.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure the energy will be really great. Yeah.
Yeah.
I usually pop in few sessions, and I love the expo. You get to connect with a lot of people. Yeah,
Yeah, it should be
looking
nice.
forward to it. Yeah.
And if anybody is in the DC area, we got the DC one coming up. That's free to people to attend. Just sign up online. Same with the New York Summit. We have a couple other summits that are throughout the year. So if you are looking for a local summit and can't attend reInvent, it's a great event to go to. So I guess, Sindhu, let's dive in. I guess when it comes to intelligent document processing, we want to give people an overview, and then we're going to do a deep dive demo where we walk through the whole solution. But why don't you kick us off with just a quick some level setting on intelligent document processing?
Absolutely. You see my slide, right?
So let's jump over to the slides now.
Okay.
Excellent.
You see my slide, right?
Yeah, we got it now.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, before I dive in, I just want to set some context here, right? So it's not that we never dealt with unstructured data. We have dealt with emails, we have dealt with transcripts, PDFs, whatnot, right? But the thing is that the unstructured data was not our major focus before GenAI. It was just one of the types of data that we dealt with. But with GenAI, the unstructured data has become the dominant input, right? So it's no longer optional, and it has completely changed how we think of architecture. And as you look here, 80% of the data is unstructured. And yet there is only 18% of the organizations which are able to process the unstructured data at scale. So in this session, we're going to enable you to tap into more and more of unstructured data. And that's via a solution that we are going to demonstrate. And it's open source. It's freely available to you. Pete is going to share some links with you. With that, I also want to set some context on the different services that we're going to use in this solution. Pete, thanks for the slide. It's really good. And the first service, I'm going to walk through each of these options, and I'm going to let you know as to what makes sense for what you got to think, and what you'll have to pick what makes sense for your use case. Like this solution actually doesn't just offer a hammer. It gives you a toolbox for you to pick and choose which will be more appropriate for your use case. The first one you see here is Bedrock. If you're hearing this service for the first time, I highly recommend you to look up about this service. This is one of the GenAI services. and for this solution, the Bedrock is going to make ad hoc calls to the LLM for the document processing. And what you got to think through when you pick this is that how am I going to calculate the confidence scores? As in, how am I going to use a formula? Am I going to use an algorithm? Or how am I going to orchestrate? I mean, document processing comes with a lot of steps, right? Classification, extraction. So how am I going to have all of that orchestration you got to think through, and how am I going to integrate with downstream applications? So all of this you'd have to think through if you pick this option. And the second is much...
Real quick, so for
yeah.
Bedrock, I think this is a great example. So people are probably used to at home, you are using some kind of LLM, you hand it a document, it does a couple things, and it hands you back data. And that's kind of like that first tier I think we're talking about here of like, you can have that very basic interaction, but you can see there's like no integration beyond that, right?
Exactly. So this will be a basic step. And if you want more control, more customization, only then you'll pick this option of using Bedrock. And the second layer, as you can see, is BDA, which is a Bedrock data automation. It gives you much more abstraction, but in turn, it uses Bedrock. It actually rolls up to Bedrock. And with this option, you have patterns or features that is provided out of the box. For example, it gives you the capability to come up with confidence scores. It automatically calculates it for you. And if you have multi-page, it can split. And the most important thing is it gives you the bounding box, as in it gives you the layout outline as to where it extracted the data so that you can validate it. It gives you the coordinates as to where exactly it fetched it so that you're certain that, yes, it extracted the value. So it comes with all of those features out of the box. And yet with this option, you still have to think about how am I going to integrate human in the loop, right? As in, if, for example, if the confidence scores are low, and if you want the human to look at it and correct the values, then you need to think through how am I going to integrate that. And you also have to think through how am I going to enable audit trails. So you still have to think through a few things when you pick this option.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen people use BDA, and it's good for maybe a single team, but it's when you're trying to scale it to a bunch of different teams, reuse components, and then for native audit trails, like being able to actually track and trace all of this stuff. BDA just doesn't do those kind of things. It's not really designed to do those kind of things out of the box. So I think
exactly.
That's into our next big one, right?
Oh, yes. And one more thing with BDA is that it comes with a set of blueprints for you. For example, if the document that you're processing is passport or W-2 or pay stub, which is publicly available, it gives you a good head start, as in it can automatically classify these documents. It does come with the inbuilt blueprints for you. Like Pete said, the next layer is the IDPA, which is much more abstracted and comes with lots of bells and whistles. And IDPA, I want to give a huge shout out to GenAI Innovation Center for building this. And specifically, I want to give a huge shout out to Bob Strahan. And great job leading this. And it comes with a lot of features. For example, the human in the loop, which is really important for any enterprise level solution, right? So you want to have a capability of looking at the data, being able to correct it, validate it. All of that is possible with this IDPA solution. It also comes with audit trails, monitoring, and fault tolerance built in. I'm going to walk through all of these features in the demo. And the last layer is the end-to-end application, as in once you have extracted all of this data, now how do I automate the downstream processing, or what next can I automate using Agentic AI? And that's also something we'll touch in the demo.
Yeah, one of the big things you hit on here is that the intelligent document processing accelerator is like a huge compilation of pre-built services in code that our Gen AI Innovation Center built. And it's been, almost a year and a half, 2 years of them building this solution. and it's now available to folks. We'll put in the GitLab link where people, or GitHub link where people can go download it, but it's already available. You can start using it. It's not a service that AWS is selling. It's just immediately available.
Yes, and they've spent thousands of hours building this. I just want to add that the solution is open source, but if you have any infrastructure or any compute resources, the standard pricing will apply. So yeah, completely agree, and I highly recommend you to try this out. And with that, let's move on to the solution patterns, right? So in this demo, we are going to look at two patterns that the solution enables. And to be honest, you can easily toggle between these two patterns. It's really simple. I'll show you in the demo how to toggle it. And if your use case is something that involves an OCR and extract, there is in this pattern, we'll use Bedrock Data Automation. If it's completely unstructured, then Bedrock Data Automation is a service to pick. And if it's more of forms and tables that your PDF has, then Textract accuracy is much better. So you can actually, the solution actually picks Textract and BDA on its own. And the second is classify and enrich. Like I mentioned earlier, Bedrock Data Automation gives you inbuilt blueprints. And even if you deal with documents, which is unique for your use case, right? You can build your own blueprint, and you can let it infer the schema as in what are the columns that you're looking to extract. All that can be defined using Bedrock Data Automation. Or if you have any custom models that you've already pre-trained in order to classify, you can easily host that in SageMaker AI, and you can actually invoke that model in order to do classification. So now that you're done with all of these extraction, we have also the human in the loop component, as in, like I mentioned, if you want to look at the extracted data, and if you want to look at the confidence score, and you can also set up a threshold. I'm going to show in the demo, if it's below the threshold, then you can invoke a human in the loop review for for the user to review and correct if need be. And once all the extraction is done, there is also an option for you to save all of those results in the extracted results in S3, or you can even index as a knowledge base for you to query against. That's why you see open search over there. And you can easily plug in the downstream application. The solution gives you a hook, a post-processing hook, and it's easy for you to hook your downstream processing with the IDPA accelerator so that it kickstarts your downstream applications.
Excellent.
And the pattern too, the difference between the first and second pattern is that you are seeing the Bedrock foundation models being used directly here. That's the difference, as in instead of using BDA, and if you are familiar or if you want to use any visual based models, right, you can directly invoke that through Bedrock FM. So that's also an option available. And if you want to, like I mentioned, you can easily toggle between these two patterns and see which gives you much better confidence score and accuracy. And the rest of all of these components in this pattern is the same. As you can see, the human in the loop, all of that is available.
And so, for OCR and then classification and extract and enrich, all of that is still being managed on the back end, right? We're not having to move in between any of these steps or manually intercede in any way, right?
Oh, yes, the solution abstracts all of this for you. I'm just showing what happens under the hood. Yes, all this is available via the solution. And it gives you good configurations for you to tweak any of this. I'll show that in the demo. Yes, it's all inbuilt.
Excellent. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and now that we have the patterns covered, right? So once you're done with extraction, okay, I have a document, I have I've classified that, yes, this is W2 or passport. And now I have extracted the columns that I require for downstream processing. Now, how do I automate and what are the next steps, right? So that's what you see here as the agentic operation. As in you can kick off the agents. It can look at the extracted data, and you can have business rules run against those extracted results, and you can automate. For example, in the demo, I'm going to show you a loan eligibility workflow, as in we are going to look at the loan application, mortgage application, and then we are going to look at the W-2s, and we are going to look at the pay stub, and how do we automate whether they are eligible, or whether we are approving the application or we are denying the application or conditionally approving. So this process can be completely automated, as in I have all of these rules. Everything is marked up. It's sample data. You can have all of these business rules in a PDF, and that PDF is a knowledge base. And the agents are going to look up against these business rules to determine that, okay, this particular applicant is eligible for the loan, or no, actually, I need much more documentations in order to approve, or no, this person, it doesn't qualify for the loan, right? All that can be.
The BDA is the intelligent document processing accelerator is really being used at this pre-processing step, right? And then it's
Exactly.
customer application, whatever it is, that's leveraging that output in the agentic operation step 2.
Exactly. What you see here in the step 1 is where the IDPA solution is used for the pre-processing, and all of the extraction classification that I mentioned earlier applies. And once you're done with extraction, now I want to even go further and automate how I'm going to use the data, and that's when the agentic operation kicks in.
Excellent.
Yeah, and yeah, let's dive into the demo. And I just want to touch upon 2 things. So depending upon the customers, there are 2 types of customers. One is that they are excited and they get started with this. Yes, let's automate it. And the second type of customer that we have dealt with is that, okay, they're a bit hesitant on how you want to let AI decide or the eligibility of the loan, right? Even for those customers, I suggest that even if you don't want AI to decide, it can give you the inputs for you to make that informed decision, right? So instead of you sorting and sifting through these documents, it can pull the required details and what is important for the decision, and can give you a good summary of what exactly you got to look for instead of you looking through all of this. It saves a lot of time. It's more accurate. It cuts down the manual errors. So it can give you the details, and then you can make the informed decision. So you can use it both ways depending upon what your customer prefers.
Excellent.
And with that, I will now stop sharing and then change screens for the demo. Just give me a couple of minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that when we've talked about intelligent document processing in the past is that we want to collect that data, we want that data processed, and we want to operationalize it as quick as possible. But we don't necessarily need right now AI to be acting on that data. But that process of extracting and then putting it into that useful format, it's really essential for making those business decisions downstream. We've had some customers that I've talked to that they'll spend a week doing the data prep and all of the research, and then maybe a day doing the actual like implementation of the decision. Now they're doing that prep in an hour, and they're still leaving the day to do the decision, but they've saved themselves that whole week. And that kind of time savings, that kind of ability to really say, okay, I am still going to be making the decision. I don't want to be accused of black boxing or anything like that. But I'm still going to be able to show that I made that decision with AI's help. And so this really unlocks that, I feel like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It saves you a lot of time and gives you a good head start. And what you see here is the console of the solution. You would see me clicking through different settings over here. I'll walk you through the most important features, and Pete is going to share you the links for you to play around this with. There are much more features for you to explore, and not only you have to work with this on the UI, you can also programmatically invoke the solution by dropping the documents in an S3, and it kicks off the process in the backend. So it's available in both versions. And on the left, you see different options available for you. The first one that I want to cover is the discovery, right? So like I mentioned, Bedrock Data Automation, which is BDA, provides you with blueprints, and you can pick and choose if your documents fall under those categories. You can easily use those blueprints, and it automatically classifies. And if your document is really unique to your customer, in this case, I just picked the loan application, then you would click here and you would pick the document that you want to classify. So in my case, it's a loan application. You open that, and there are two modes that is available for you. One is the single section, whether you want to have everything covered in a single section, or if you want to pick a range of pages and only those pages you want to use for your extraction, that option is also available for you. And once you start the discovery, the job kicks in, and what it does is it looks at your layout and it looks at what columns you would matter for you to extract, and it creates a schema for you. And that is important for classification. And once it has identified the layout, it saves all of this configuration. And it's just one time you do this. And every time you use the document, it automatically classifies that, yes, this is a loan application, or it could be any type of document, custom documents that you're using, right? Or it could be even the public documentation, like I mentioned, passport. So this is the first step for you to classify the document. Once this job runs, where you will see the settings is that you will click in the view and edit configuration, and you'll click on the document schema. And as you can see, I've already have the blueprints or the document schema for payslip, for W-2, for loan applications. So once the job is completed, this is where you'll see all of the different types of document.
Right.
And
I'll add in, let's say I have my 5 major documents or 50 major documents that my group uses. I can add those in through discovery. And then this is where I can go in and start really like fine tuning what my document formatting looks like, right?
Exactly. This is where, and if for some reason, if sometimes the layout of two documents might be so close that it might look a bit ambiguous, and yes, I would suggest you to come here and add more and more description here for it to identify exactly what type of documents. There could be 50 types of documents, like you mentioned, hundreds of documents, but what you provide here as a description would really help for it to classify and also add examples for it. So this is the place where you tweak and tune how the classification can be accurate. And for each of the individual columns too, it gives you the option of adding more descriptions and examples, right? I always mention that instead of being more verbose, examples are really helpful. For example, rather than you typing a lot, giving examples will improve accuracy. So you can come and add that here, and you can add more columns, like add attribute or delete the columns that you don't care for. So all that is available in this UI.
And I think some people, they might be used to older school IDP where like you would tell the IDP at this section on this page, there'll be a box and that's got this field. And like this really demonstrates like we're not doing that kind of like looking specific at a specific spot on the page and it has to have this exact format. We're actually looking for the pay period start date that has these properties on the page. And so I think
exactly.
that's a great feature there, yeah.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of samples, test data for it to train the model, look at the right box, label it. Yeah, it was so much of work. And now what you do is run the discovery job once and help it in case, if need be, to tweak it a bit, add more descriptions, examples maybe, and you're good to go. Yes, it saves us a lot of time.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, and once you get this sorted, now you can go ahead and upload the documents. I've already uploaded the documents here. As you can see, I have a loan application.
You don't have to use this interface to upload documents, right? You can interact with all this stuff through API through your own application.
Exactly. So you can upload directly to S3 and it kick off the jobs. It doesn't always have to be via the UI. This is one of the options that the solution offers. And So let me click on the W2. So once you upload the document, the job kicks in, and this is where you will see the results. I'm going to click through different features here one by one. But the first feature is, of course, viewing the data. So once you click here, it gives you a good pane where you can actually view the document on the left and the values that are extracted on the right, just so that it's easier for you to validate. And even when you click, it gives you the bounding box, like I mentioned, the outline of where it extracted from, so that you can look in. So if I zoom in this a bit, so it has extracted from there. And the next one, it is extracted from here. So you get the gist of it. So it not only extracts, it gives you exactly where it extracted, the coordinates in the box for you to validate. And as you can see, it also gives you the confidence score of as to how confident it is with the extraction. And you can set the threshold. It's defaulted to 80. If you want to set as 60, then whatever falls under 60 will be up for review. And this pane is really helpful for you to validate. And for example, if you don't have to look at everything, you can actually use the confidence alerts only. Then it shows the ones that are low confident for you to look at and review and say, hey, it's actually good, or if you want to make any corrections. And for example, if you want to make a correction, right, you will click on the edit mode, and you will, maybe I'll just click this. And for example, if it's you want to go correct it, you just add whatever you want and you save changes, it gets saved. So it's a simple UI that gives you all of these capabilities.
And talk to us a little bit more about the confidence score. So like, how is that number in particular determined?
So this is generated by BDA, and it's one of the important factors for you to look at in order to determine that how confident the model is with the extraction, right? So if you see lower numbers, that doesn't mean it's incorrect. It's just not confident. It's not always wrong. You'll go look at it. And if need be, you may have to correct. But this is a good indicator for you to determine whether the extraction is something that you can rely on. This is sort of a standard that almost all IDP solution offers. So this is something that you should always look at before you go ahead and process the data.
Excellent.
Now, once you are done with this, right, once you scroll to the top, it also gives you the cost estimation, as in how much it costed for you to run this job, and it gives you detailed itemized cost associated to it, just in case if you want to look at. And the second part, if you let me click this processing flow, right? So it gives you a good lineage of what are the different steps that kicked in. First, it determines that whether it has to, what is your configuration it looks at, whether it has to go with Bedrock or Bedrock data automation. And then it looks whether if there is an existing data, it invokes it and processes the steps. That you can walk through the different steps here, but it gives you a complete auditable lineage as to what are the different steps. And as you can see here, how much time it took for each of these steps, all that is available for you.
I think this is like one of the most important things that people are missing right now in the tools they're building. Like they're like, oh, well, I put it into the tool and it gave me the data back. But when you have to explain it to maybe an auditor or maybe even just your boss of like what happened at each step, you don't have any ability to really say this is what first it, or it identified what its structure was, then it classified it. Like having all this data here is really a huge value.
Oh yes, and also for debugging in which step it failed, and then you kick off right from there. And actually, more than this, I like the troubleshoot feature. That's really good. If you don't have the right IAM role, or for some reason you didn't have the S3 bucket access, or it could be anything, right? So it gives you a good summary of what were the issues that you can easily look. You don't have to navigate to CloudWatch. Of course, if you want to, yes, but in one single pane, it gives you exactly what the error is. In this case, it was successful, so you won't see that, but this is one of the nice features for you to troubleshoot if you run into any issues. With that, and like I mentioned, you can enable a threshold. In my case, there were 2 elements that had low confidence scores, and it kicked in a review status, and you can go edit the data if there are any corrections that are required. So this is all about the extraction component, and there are 2 other bells and whistles. One is the document KB, as in whatever document that you uploaded for extraction is now available for you to query against. For example, I processed the document for Elizabeth Smith. So what is the annual income? Basically, you can query it. It's indexed now for you to query against. So
And so if customers are setting up their own knowledge bases, if they're setting up their own systems, they can at least validate the data extraction is working here and then connect this to their own systems if they have them, right?
Yes. Yeah, you don't have to. It's all available within this, right? You just have to click in and you can start querying against it. Instead of you going to Bedrock and then setting up the knowledge base for all of these documents, it is inbuilt for you in this. And another feature is that this comes really handy for me. So there are just so many new features that GenAI Innovation Center releases almost every week, that if I don't know about a feature, I just go and ask questions here. Okay, there is a new step now. What does this step do? So you don't have to really go through the README pages or go for a wiki link. You just come here, chat with it, figure out what the feature is about or how we can better use the solution. So this companion chat is really helpful for you to understand more about the solution. With that, I am pivoting to the second component, which I mentioned, that once you're done with all of this pre-processing extraction, now what can I do for the next step, as in how can I automate the downstream processing? But if there are any questions I can take. Pete, do you have any questions?
Yeah, we did have one. This is over on YouTube from Dylan Dino. When you think about human in the loop and the customers that you've worked with, have you seen customers that have just decided not to use human in the loop at all for their kind of work stream?
No, most of them, in fact, that's one of the popular features that customer have always asked. Even with PDA or Bedrock, they want this capability to always go look at the confidence scores and make any corrections. Or even for the ones that are 100% confident, sometimes they want to go look where it extracted from. Be testing phase, even in production scenarios, the absolutely human in the loop is something that you should recommend for your customer.
And I guess human in the loop, when we think about it, is it sounds very manual, but it's really designed for those specific elements that have issues where you were manually typing it in for hundreds of fields. Maybe now you're only looking at it 1 in every 1,000 or something like that. Like, right? It's
yeah. Absolutely. The threshold really determines. It depends on a particular day. If you see so many errors, you can just go look, pull the threshold down so that anything you want to review, you can do. It's completely customizable for you. So yeah, you don't have to look into each and every results. Only the ones that are below the threshold you can review. And definitely, I would highly recommend having a human in the loop component.
Now, I have a loan processing customer that I've worked with, and they talked about how they have 3 or 4 different business units. Each one of them was doing their own intelligent document processing on their own, and they realized it would actually be way more helpful if upstream, right as soon as the data landed, they did IDP at an enterprise level to help manage. That's one of the reasons they're looking at this tool. I guess, have you seen that kind of shift from your customers as well?
Oh yes, absolutely. They want to plug in right from the upstream and also automate the downstream application. So that's definitely that's become sort of a norm these days. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, well, let's move on to the next one.
Okay, so like I mentioned, I I used the W2 pay stub loan application. I extracted all of this, and I have this business rules in a PDF format. This is just marked up guidelines and criteria. So it could be anything for your customer, right? They might have different set of business rules, and it could be a PDF. And the reason I picked a PDF is because if there are any changes in the guidelines or criteria, the business analyst or whoever the business owner is can easily come and edit here. If there is any new bill that gets passed, or if there is anything that needs change, it's easy to it's easy to come here and edit the PDF. And of course, you'll have to do regression testing to make sure everything runs. But this is sort of easy for even the business folks to come edit and maintain this. So agents is going to look at this PDF to determine that, okay, which sections are applicable for the documents that has been extracted, the data that has been extracted, and pulls the relevant sections. And it determines that, yes, this person is eligible for the loan or not. And not only does it make the decision, it also gives you the rationale behind why it made the decision. So you can make it as much verbose as possible for audit reasons or even for your own validation reasons. So that's the second step after the extraction that kicks in. And as you can see here, I have this UI, a sample any firm financial. So once the extraction is done, like I mentioned, it goes and looks against the business rules with all of the extracted data. And for example, Elizabeth Smith is approved, and what are the different document types that were processed. And what was the rationale behind this decision, right? So in this case, the application was approved, and it also gives exactly which sections made it possible, as in why is it eligible, for what reasons, and it gives you exact verbiage around what sections made it qualify. And if need be, you can look at the actual JSON, as in what was extracted and what was the response from the agent. So all that is available for you. This is just to give you an idea as to how you can automate after extraction. In the second case, which I already processed, this is conditional, and it also gives you the rationale, as in this application is conditionally approved, and it looks for more documentation, 2 years of employment history, credit report verification. So it requires more documentation for it to be completely approved. So this is mainly based on the prompt that you write. It looks at the extracted values, and you let it know that, okay, you are the loan eligibility determinant. You have to determine the loan eligibility, and these are the conditions. You go look at the PDF, and then you determine and give me the rationale. All that will be a prompt, and based on the extracted results, give all of you can let it know even the template as to how the output should look like, and this is how you will get the results. As in, it could be either a UI or it could be directly in S3 in the backend. It's up to how you architect it.
Excellent. I mean, a lot of customers, I think upstream, they have these kind of like business logic systems. They just don't have data flowing into them in a managed or automated way. So this is a good example of like how to actually leverage that data.
Exactly. And you're able to automate not only just the extraction and the complete end-to-end process. And for example, for the customer that I mentioned, if they want to directly not approve, if you want to just give them the rationale, as in what are the things that they have to look at before they approve or not approve, this also can be one of the use cases, even for those customers.
And so for a lot of this stuff, we're still seeing that logging of all of we pulled this field from this location and we have this confidence, right? All of these data elements still have that logging for each of them, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Everything is auditable and traceable. So this particular column was used, and this was the confidence scores. It was corrected by this particular person, and it was and this particular section was used for the approval. All this is completely traceable and auditable.
Excellent. Cool.
with that, are there any questions? I'm just thinking if there is any other feature that we can show them.
I did want to know if we had a chance to walk through the architecture really quickly. I don't know if you have the GitHub or the.
I can pull it up. Let me see.
It's so easy to find. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think this is the one, right? Yeah. Document processing, GitHub. Yep. Okay. I think here will be the architecture. Yes. It looks complex, but and this is why Pete and I have been telling you a lot about thousands of hours spent in building this solution, even with all the coding assistant, right? So as you can see, there are different steps tagged in here. This is where the input bucket, as in this is where the file gets ingested and then it gets queued. If it's not just one document at a time, right? You can set the concurrency level as in how many documents can be processed parallelly. So it gets queued and it gets picked up. And this API, what you see here is the UI component. That's the one that I showed. And if you are planning to use it in the backend, as in just kick off based on APIs, you wouldn't have this component or the web UI. If in case you choose to have it for testing reasons, or then if the user is going to upload, then this component applies. And CloudFront, which enables you to host the UI and the associated S3 bucket. Cognito takes care of all of the authentication and authorization. CloudWatch for all of the logs. Athena, if in case you want to query the results or even query the logs that's available for you. AppSync, yeah.
Thing I've been careful to let customers know about is like when we talk about using Cognito, you can still integrate your AI or your identity center, your own identity system. Cognito is just the application role level controls. So
exactly. Bring your IDP provider. Yes, it could be Microsoft Entra. It could be anything Okta. You can plug it in easily. It doesn't have to be Cognito. That's a good call out.
And the buckets that we see at the beginning and the end of these workflows, those don't have to be the buckets that the application is pulling in and initially writing data to. It could just be that you're taking the data that you want to have processed and putting it into these buckets.
Yes.
Another entry point.
Exactly. And SQs to just process them asynchronously. And then the strand agents is all the agentic AI components. It can be used for your companion, or like I mentioned, if you want to query against the knowledge base. So all of these agents are available for you. Concurrency counter, like I mentioned, it can limit how many number of documents that can be processed parallelly. And this whole bunch is the different steps that I showed in the UI, the OCR, the classification that gets kicked in. And each of these lambdas, as you can see, makes calls to either Textract or Bedrock or directly Bedrock Data Automation. And after the classification, extraction kicks in. Assessment is where the confidence scores are either generated, or it makes use of the confidence scores that the Bedrock Data Automation provides for you. And there is also a new feature, which is rule validation, that got added. For example, if your use case is more on compliance, and if you want to run a bunch of compliance rules against the data that has been extracted, you can even have those rules and have them run, and you can look at the results, whether it succeeded or failed. That's one of the new features that was introduced recently. And summarize like whatever documents got uploaded. If you want a good crisp summarized version of what is this package or what is this content all about, that's also available for you. And evaluation is where this gets a little bit tricky. This is where if you have some sort of a ground truth, and if you want to evaluate against the ground truth and determine that yes, whatever document you have processed is in line with the ground truth or the benchmark, or is it a bit off? All that is available for you, and the output results get stored in S3, like I mentioned. So this is the architecture if you're interested. There are a lot of good links and wiki pages available for you to explain this further.
Yeah, this is excellent. I mean, I think customers that I have started working with, maybe have progressed to the BDA phase, and then they realize all of this stuff is still stuff they have to go build. So having this out of the box, open source, ready for them to use is really going to save them a lot of time, whether they want to fork and then own it themselves, or whether they want to keep using the updates that the Innovation Center keeps producing.
Oh yeah, and this solution, like I mentioned, if there are any new models available, new features available, it's the new releases gets launched and it keeps up to date. Yes, it's so easy for you to plug and play this. And there is a one-click deploy. I'll let you go through this, and it's not that you have to clone this repo, deploy it, follow a bunch of instructions. No, I would highly recommend you to use the one-click deploy to quickly deploy this and explore it. Yes.
Now, we did have another question come in. When we were earlier in the IDP tool, there was a section in there called test sets.
Yes.
I guess, is that something that you want to walk through really quickly?
Oh, yes. So in the test sets, for example, there are customers who want to test a set of bunch of packages to determine that is the accuracy of the confidence score consistent. So you can make use of this test sets. In fact, I think it comes with test. Oh yeah, they already have W2 tax forms available in this test set for you to look at and make sure that the confidence scores are consistent for all of these documents. For example, it's 2,000 files for you to look at. So this test set is something that you can absolutely enable the customer to be more confident with your document processing.
So if you have a customer that's already got a series of either pre-labeled or example documents, you can set that up as a test here and then run that test against it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what I briefly mentioned about ground truth too. So if you have, even for discovery, right, you have the option of ground truth, as in if you already have labeled test sets and if you want to use that test set in order to classify, for example, if your particular document, you're particular about what column names should look like, and if you already have a ground truth, okay, this column has to be called so and so and labeled, then you can upload that and it'll refer the ground truth and it'll use the same field names that you have labeled in order to come up with a schema. So absolutely, test sets are really helpful even for discovery.
It's good to know. Thank you, Zelandino, for that question.
And also capacity planning is one of the other things that pop up all the time. So if you have the document type, for example, W2, and if you have an idea of how many number of pages or documents that you're going to deal with, and the number of tokens, like I showed earlier, it gives you a good pricing, itemized pricing for you. So not only by particular document here, if you can even have for your whole use case, and once you provide the processing schedule, as in how many hours does your job runs, or how much the schedule of your document processing, the doc hours, if you add all of that, it gives you a capacity requirements, as in what to expect for your use case, how much tokens are you looking at, what would the price look like. So this is one of the good things that they have introduced recently for you to come up with capacity planning for your use case. I'm thinking what other, even the pricing, if you have different pricing for some customers, they have some discounts based on whether they're XXL. So if you have different pricing, then it lets you edit here so that your price reflects for your use case. That this is one of the nicest tweaks. For example, there might be Curve Cloud customers, the pricing might be different. You can come and edit here, and you can view the itemized based on the price that you have edited. And version control, that's another feature that's really comes in handy, as in for you tweak a lot. You first time you upload a document and you use BDA and you want to see, okay, I have another model that I want to test out, right? So you can disable BDA here, and you can pick whatever models that as and when new models are available, it's available in this drop down. You can pick and choose what different models you want to play around with. For example, if it's a simple document or if it's a simple step, you can pick Haiku or whatever model you want to explore, right? So for each of the steps, it lets you pick what model you want to explore with extraction, assessment, each of this threshold, like I mentioned, 80%. Once you have all of, I would highly suggest using the system prompts and task prompts, but if you're confident enough to tweak it a bit, this is where you go and tweak it. And once you've made all of these changes, you can go up here and you can save as a version. So every time you upload a document, for example, if you want to reprocess this, for example, then you can pick the version that you have. I have different versions here. So you save your version and you pick your version here so that the processing again happens based on the new configuration that you have set in. So it's easy for you to play out with different models or switch between Bedrock and BDA, and the toggle is really easy, the edit configuration.
It's interesting. We had a customer bring up the fact that at some points they will have business users that want to apply different logic and want to test out different logic changes. And instead of you having a developer go into the code and have to manually modify all this and go through code cycles, you can come in here and you could version a different the test of that and do it through the GUI and even have them potentially do it themselves. It just
yes,
a lot of time.
Oh yes, it's completely DIY. You don't have to go into the code, deploy different version. It's so much easier to come and tweak it here. It gives you a lot of knobs here for you to explore and adjust. Yeah, this is definitely, of course you'll have to do regression testing, but definitely business user friendly.
Yeah. Well, I want to remind everybody listening that this tool is available to you. We've put the GitHub link here, but it's the intelligent document processing tool that was a solution that has been built by the AWS Gen AI Innovation Center. Another shout out to them for all of the hard work that they've been putting into this for the last 18 months. If you have any questions about it, you can put it here in the chat or put it on the channel, and we'll see those questions. But there's also the like we talked about earlier, the agent companion chat. You'll find that you can actually interact with that chat companion on our documentation website for the intelligent document processing. So if you have questions, you can actually ask the code itself questions about it, which is very exciting.
Oh yeah,
absolutely. So, anything else you want to mention before we wrap up today?
No, I'm good. I've covered almost most of the features, and yes, agent companion chat, definitely explore that. If there are new features, any questions, feel free to use it.
Excellent. Well, I really want to thank you today for joining us, for doing a walkthrough of these different tools. It's been very helpful.
Thank you so much, Pete. Your questions really helped me to explain this even better.
And I want to thank you for all of our listeners out there. I know that we will be returning next week. Anil and the standard hosting team will be back as well. And I want to thank you for joining AWS Show and Tell. This week's focus was on the Intelligent Document Processing Accelerator solution. And we look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Bye now.